Okay, we are pretty far through our goose series, and today we're going to do this one. We had to have a summer goose, and so she's a cutie. I like how she's got her her little bikini on. And so let's go through supplies really quick, and then we'll get started. So we are going to need a pencil and a kneaded eraser, and some sort of ink. You can have a micron pen or anything like that. This is an ultra fine point Sharpie. I've got a piece of 4.5 inch by 5.5 inch watercolor paper. Mine is Canson. And I've got some watercolor paints right here. I have got a size 10 Winsor & Newton round watercolor brush. And then I've got some water and a towel. And then I've got a little heat tool and a spray water bottle, and that is all we need for today. And yeah, I'm excited to get started. So as always, we're going to begin with observation. And this is our girl. This is our porch goose. Mine's name is Marion, and she is dressed for the beach today. I wanted to just kind of point out some differences between the two of them. There's a lot that's the same, but really she's got a big beach hat on, closed eye in one, dot for the other. Same basic like swimsuit in both, but on this one on the right, I have got her little like goose wing out. But this one on the left is really like she's a statue. She is a porch goose, right? So actually there's just like an indent right here with a shadow. So if this would be true to statue, this is we do whatever we want, which is of course what we always do, is whatever we want. And if you don't like this color of a swimsuit, pick something different. I thought just for change, I just did a green hat on this one, but this is like I wear a beach hat, like a big sun hat all summer. So this one's like mine. We did a shadow again. We did some polka dots. So the polka dots are a part of glazing. We'll do those on top of a fully dry layer. And because we're going to use a template to start, I don't think there's a lot more to say at the moment. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, which one are we going to use for our guide? I feel like you're going to like this wing out just because it's cute. So let's do that one. And I'm going to move the things out of the way that we're not using to start with. Just begin with our little template. If you don't have the template, it is linked in the description. And so you can print this out and use it for all of them, just so that all of them are uniform and the same. And it kind of saves us a little bit of drawing time as well. So we're going to place her right in the center, decently close to the bottom, maybe a pencil width below. And then hold it down, and we're going to press really lightly even though we're tracing, because you always want to be able to move it. A goose in a bikini. I don't think that when I started this channel I knew we'd be here. But we've done a lot of weird things, haven't we? Okay, so I'm just getting my little goose traced. And I'm going to lift it up, make sure, first of all, oh, you didn't miss any giant areas like me. And then I know I like that little ruffle in the feathers. So I'm actually going to come up like this and then stop. And then when I get to here, I like to kind of give it like a little bit of something. Same thing here, really. We'll take this one up. Oh, sorry for that shaky camera. Up like this, and then I like to give this, it's like kind of the only spot where we can kind of see that there's feathers, so I like doing that. And we'll close off the beak any way that you want to. And I always want it a little tighter, so I brought it down a little bit. And you can decide what kind of eye you're gonna do. So always just changing anything, erasing it to make sure you like it. And I think I'm going to keep with the circle this time. So if you have your template, I mean, just it's a good way to see where you might want that eyeball to be. So you can do it like that. Sorry, I'm trying to move things so that I stop bumping the camera. Wish me luck. Okay, so we've got our goose. Here she is. And now we'll bring our reference into view, and we are just going to start by finding the front of her body. So if we look at this one, if you were to kind of come with this line closer to the left side of her neck and come like this, can you see that? That's kind of the front of her body. And if you can put some sort of a line like that, I mean, it's not exact, but it's going to help us guess, like, where would the middle of this swimsuit go? Okay, so something like that might be helpful to you. I'll go ahead and throw it in on this one as well. Just kind of picking a front. It doesn't matter. Wherever you put it, it's just the goose turning more one direction. So that's okay. And I feel like the bottom is going to be easier. So let's start with the bottom, and then it will give us kind of guides for where to put that top. So I don't want to cover up these feathers. I want to make sure I get all of that. And so let's kind of put maybe a dot over here, maybe this way. So what I'm doing is putting some spots where I want the bottom of that skirt to go. And I feel like that's going to give me a pretty good start. And now I'll connect them. Can you see that? So, and then I want to wiggle it a little, but it's the bottom, not the top. The top will be cinched a lot, the bottom not so much. So a little bit of a wiggle is great. And also notice I'm saving a space here because I did not put the wing in yet. I'll first show it to you on this one. You know, if you wanted this type of a wing, you know, maybe a dot here, and really it's gonna get lost in the skirt. So you can just kind of start like that. Let's leave that line as a beginning. And now we've got this one. And we'll come up all the way, you know, let's see. It's like my fingernail kind of is about, or like your finger, you know, it would be like the width from top to bottom here. So something like that, and make sure it's on the outside. It ends around, because think about it, the fabric has to extend beyond the body. And then I've got this, and I'll come up about the same, but pretty close to the body here, and come down. Now I've got 3 sides of that skirt already. Now here's where we want to make it look cinched. Like this, I think is so cute, right? We want this little tiny kind of organic bumpy line to go all the way across, because that's how the skirt stays on, is because elastic. And we're going to do a little bit of this up and down, a little messy even. And now you can decide where that wing is going to go. I want a little bit of space. And you notice I'm not even done with the skirt, but I'm always just thinking about how we're using our space. And I love that. I also want it to kind of come around like this on both sides. Don't press too hard. I think I'm pressing a little bit hard. And then we're going to have to erase our goose lines through that skirt. So let's get rid of those now, and I think you're going to start seeing things come together. It's kind of like a big inner tube, right? Why is it so cute? Okay, so we need our bikini top, and it's kind of strange because really what we're seeing here is we're seeing a loop. It's almost like an eye mask, okay? And it's hanging on top of a statue of a goose. So that's why the shape is a little weird. It's like a padded top just sitting there, hanging from a necklace, okay? If you can think of it like that, I think that might help you. And so we are going to find where we think it's going to go, wherever you think sort of the chest area is. And then I'm going to start with the dip in between. And then I'm going to come up and around. Look at this shape. It's almost as if this was, if there's a circle, this might be like bow tie shaped. So that might help you as well. And then I'm going to come up, and this one's a little bigger because we can see more of it. So look where it goes. Not quite to that little armpit, if you will. And I like this line that comes across first. So you're trying for something like this. And we'll get rid of those lines, but not yet. I like this part when we come around. Just see how you see in between. How you can see like this little space between the strap and the goose. So I'm going to make sure to get that in there. So we're coming just from somewhere over here. You can maybe put a dot where you're going and swoop it just around, just a slight curve to it. And one more. So now I have a bigger space. But just adjust it a little bit as you go. Make sure you like it. I put too many pencil lines, so I had to get rid of some. But yeah, I think it's it's not supposed to look like an actual bikini on an actual goose, although that would be adorable. And then this one's going to match. So this line would like follow through. We'll come over here and swoop it down to this. And however, you know, whichever side, just double it up. So that's called an aura. And then we'll have it come down, widen it out, and flip up. And there's a little tie in the back. Now we will look at it and adjust a little bit. We'll get rid of any lines that go through that swimsuit that you didn't get rid of. And if you put that line down the front of the goose body, let's get rid of that one as well, because that was just a little guide for us. I'm working on the next series. I will be announcing it soon. Okay, cute, I love it. Moving on, let's see, got our shadow here. I think all we need left for the sketch is our hat. And so, I mean, it's just like a big sun hat. I think I like this one better. This one's a little floppy, but really they do get floppy. So don't overthink that too much. What we need is it to be quite wide with a smaller little top, kind of rectangular shaped, if anything, and that would be right on top of where the goose's head is. So this sort of lines up in that direction. And we don't want it too far up. Like this one's maybe too far up. It should be kind of pushed a little further down on his head, her head. So whatever, we're gonna wing it. This is not, we're not gonna worry too much about it, but I'm gonna come decently close to that eyeball is how I'm gonna do it on this one. And then I'm gonna make it definitely wider than the head on both sides. Okay, big is cute, so try to roll with it. And then maybe the bottom part of the hat only comes to the top of that goose's head, really, like this. And then right here, and you can use that head as a guide, it's gonna come up, over, just these curved corners. And now we'll start to look at it and kind of look for symmetry. Like, is this curve match this curve? And are they the same kind of length? You know, the center would be in the center, so these should be the same width. And I will get rid of the top of the goose's head since we can't see it through that hat. Now you can decide, do you like the shape? Is it wonky? This is where you sit with it for a second. Maybe close your eyes, take a picture of it, see what you think. I just want to see just the tiniest bit of the under part of that hat, just a little. So I'm doing one extra line there. And that's good enough for me. I think I'm pretty much done with my sketch. So look at yours. Make sure you like it. If not, go get a cup of tea, get a cup of coffee, come back and look at it again, and then make sure you like it before we get into our paints. I guess I'm gonna wiggle the toes a little today. And I like her. She's a cutie. It does look like an inner tube, but in a really cute way. I want to make sure this goes around the body a little, so up and around. Cute. Okay. Get that out of the way for a second, and we will use, I don't know, we'll use this one, I guess. And we're going to go ahead and mix up our colors and make sure we are ready to go before we even get to our paper. So if your palette looks like mine, that's okay. We can kind of embrace chaos around here, and you don't need to get rid of any of these. If you wanted to, you could get a wet paper towel, wipe all these down, and start fresh. If you've got something like this where you've got a whole bunch of colors to work with, then why don't you just decide which colors you want to use today, and we will refresh those. So you can, either way, you can take your spray bottle and spray your paints on this right side. And I want them to be glossy, almost like there's just a teeny puddle on the top of them, so that, see, those are just going to work really nicely. And then I'm going to take my brush, get it wet, and I'm going to take from my paints, which is on this side, and I'll create puddles over here from what I already had. So if I'm going to keep with this nice red color, I'm just going to use what I have, but you can always adjust it a little. So like this is red. If I wanted it to be pinker, I could grab my wet brush and grab some pink paint and load that into here. I'll mix it around. I can pull in anything that I want. And in order to get it lighter, I'll always add water, because in watercolor, that's how we get our colors lighter. Okay, so I don't know, I like this. I just added more water to kind of lighten it up a little bit, but just kind of a nice puddle. It's going to be for the background color, and then we'll, as always, load in our darker color for the wet on wet technique, and then we'll glaze on top, which means it will be wet on dry for the polka dots. So those will be later. So if you've got your bikini color, great. We also need to have whatever color you want for the goose's beak and feet, and I usually just grab this first one here. Got a spot with some orange, so I'll stick it there. This is such a tiny space, so for this one, notice we don't need very much water. You can keep it pretty small, but we want to have our color ready to go, and we want to be working from puddles, nothing dried up, just so ready to go. And this is a simple one, isn't it? We just need some kind of a brown for the hat or whatever color you're going to use. And then we need this really nice light gray for the shadows. I will do my light gray over here. Do you see how I like to use this space on my palette? I don't put my brush in here, so it gives me a little bit of extra space to play. And I like it because I can always leave it here. I never have to clean it. And I can always do my black. I do brown. I do green over here. Or I mix them up. You can see, I think this one got put away wet, so it's just messy, but that's okay. And I'm mixing it up a little bit, and that looks good to me for my gray. And I've got a brown spot here. So pick what color for your hat. I want you to think, do you want it to be more yellowish brown, reddish brown, yellowish, might be somewhere here in the yellow ochre. Reddish brown, you might be leaning into the sienna color. If you just want like a nice brown that does not have red in it, you keep up here. But we don't all have the same palette, so play with what you've got, and we'll make sure that we like it when we get it here on our palette in our puddle before we go anywhere with it. So I'm adding a little bit of just like orange or yellow to kind of get it into this soft color that my hat is at home. And I think that's pretty good. Nice and light. And if you've got those, I think we are ready to go. You can move your setup however you like it. I like to move my paints kind of over out of the way a little bit so that you can see a close-up of both of these at the same time. So I'm going to take my light gray first, and that is really just for the shadow on the goose. And see how light that is? Really light. In a minute we can darken it up, but actually I say let's wait on this shadow. We'll do that at the end today. So just a nice light gray on your brush. You don't need very much of it, so maybe the tip of your brush, and we'll put some under the hat because the hat's always going to be kind of shading the face, maybe along that back side of the neck, maybe a little down below the tie too, but make sure you skip the tie. Now you'll be deciding, is it too dark or not? But if anything, I see more people going too light because you just don't really see it. Okay, I'm going to go right here. This is funny. If you wanted to try this, you could, because we're going to dry it. You could do a whole shadow underneath of this, even though we're going to paint on top of the skirt. But we just have to dry this first. And then I want to do a little bit under the skirt, and maybe just a little bit like this, just to give some dimension to her booty. And oh, I don't know if you can see it on this one. I added a little bit of shadow right here, but you can't really tell anyway, so I don't think that matters. I am going to clean out my brush, and I'll just grab my heat tool. I'll stay on camera with you. We'll just quickly dry that. Okay, and if you can't see the light reflecting anymore, you're basically good to go. And we'll come back in here. Let's go to the beak and the feet next. These are so simple when we get down to them. I think they're really about just sort of the fun of creating a new costume each time. I'm going to fill in the beak and the feet, just sort of coloring book style, just taking my paint. The tip of my brush runs along these edges. And I lean into the belly of my brush a little when I'm within the shape. But I do not need too much water. Notice though, they're still reflective when I'm done. And if I have a little bit of puddling or pooling, I can clean and dry my brush and just touch it like this and lift up some of that excess paint. And now they're both great. I can see that they're drying. There's no huge spots of water or anything, so good to go on those. Now, if we were to start on anything, we're not touching anything wet, so we're safe because we've got kind of white space between everything today. So I say, let's get started on the background layer of her swimsuit. So you're gonna grab your color and make sure that it's light enough that you can do the, you know, this main color that you see will load in the darker color. And that can come right from your paints. So don't worry about that one yet. And if you're nervous about any of this, you can always just watch first. So I am going to go light on the tip of my brush right here for the strap. Lean into my brush a little bit more because using a brush is about pressure. Let's all ignore that I just went outside the lines, okay? I'll probably clean that up in a moment, but for now, if I tried to, it's just gonna go back into it. So there we go, right? Light on the tip of my brush in these tiny spots. I filled in the whole thing. And I think I'm just gonna keep moving and kind of quickly fill in this whole skirt at the same time, trying to get up into these little tiny spaces. And I'm trying to work somewhat quickly because if I do, I can add just a little bit of like shading through wet on wet to both the skirt and the bikini top. Okay, I'm touching my brush to my towel, grabbing a couple dabs right into my paint, not my puddle. And I'm gonna go like this and just go a little bit under here. Just give a little dimension, maybe a little bit up here. And so you can find where the pleats would be, which is kind of like this. But just watch how much the paint is moving. You want it to be where you're telling it to be. So if it's like flowing all the way across, you have too much water. If it's not blending, it's just sitting on top, that means you need just a little bit more. And those are the kind of things that are really going to help you in watercolor, just to start watching for that. Now, the top is a little drier than the bottom. You can see the light reflecting on the bottom, but not really the top. And that's okay. I'm going to keep that same brush that I was just using. I didn't add anything to it, but I'll just go really lightly on sort of the underside of this strap. See, that just gave it a little something. And then over here too, and maybe on like the bottom or the sides of those. And that's pretty much all I needed here. If I wanted to, since this is still drying, I can still take this and look, it's gonna sit on there a little differently because it's drier now. So it doesn't matter, just a little bit of something, a little bit of dimension on there, and then we're golden. Let's move on to the hat while this dries. Cleaning out my brush. I'm gonna go to my puddle of brown paint that I made for my hat, and then I want all of us look at it. Make sure that your puddle is just nice and loose. It's the color that you want it to be. It didn't dry up. I'm gonna turn my paper because it's a little easier just to run your hand kind of away from your body like that. And I'm gonna fill in the whole shape. Touching my brush to my towel because I had a little bit of like excess paint on there, and then I just touched it to grab up that extra, and it looks nice and even, and that's what I want. So I'm going to go ahead, I think I'll just dry this whole thing. Actually, wait, look at this is dry already, so we can go into our shadow. So I'm cleaning my brush, and I never really made this darker color yet. So I'm taking my paint right here, getting a little bit more of that black paint and going right into here. I want darker than the shadow on the goose, but not super dark. That looks pretty good to me right here. Okay, and so now I'm going to go looking at this. I'll come all the way up to those feet and then lean into the belly of my brush, widen this out like some sort of just a rounded shape. Quickly, I will clean my brush. I tapped it on my towel once, and I'm running this water alongside the shadow, and really that just fades out that line and gives us that nice subtlety, which I love for a shadow. So we're good to go. We got the shadow. It looks good today, doesn't it? I like that shadow. I'm gonna give this whole thing a quick dry, and we'll paint on top of it. I'm gonna see if you can see this with me, but do you see how there's what we call blooming or cauliflowering. And what happened was we did the gray. The gray started to dry just a little because it was less wet. I put the water alongside and it dried into it. And that's why we have those cool lines. Some people consider those a mistake, but why? It's so pretty and no one understands it. So it's kind of like this mystery, magical part of watercolor. Leaving it for sure. And then let's go ahead, and I feel like while we're, I don't want to forget about the hat. So I am just taking, I want to get a little bit more brown paint, but like concentrated, like less of it now, so that it can be a little bit like darker on top of our hat. And I don't care what color it is exactly. I'm going to do some little, this is like just a little grid to make it look like it is like a straw hat. And then if you wanted to, while you've got that darker color on there, do this little ridge underneath of it, but not like, avoid the goose's head. Go on either side. See that? It's kind of like all we really need. You can do more if you want to. You know, that's always up to you. Where to stop is always the question, you know. You can do lines like this. Just doesn't matter too much. And so I'm going to leave that. Hat paint is done. And we're ready to get into the details on our goose's bikini. So I just cleaned my brush and I dried it. And I'm going to go right into my paints this time. Let me show it to you real quick. I have this. I'll just dip the tip of my brush into that and then get into these two. I want a nice dark puddle like this. Look how small it is. Teeny tiny, but it moves. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Think about like a gel pen, how it needs to flow. So if it's too dry, it won't flow. And then from here, we're doing our polka dots. We've done these before. If you are new here and somehow you started out with this video, I love that for you. Also, we have a 30-day video series that goes like, it's watercolor tips and tricks, but it's 30 different, like different things each time. Do you guys see? We're just doing polka dots together while I chat now, okay? Just sticking them on there, tip of your brush really lightly. Remember to don't have too much water or you'll lose control. And I like to do these diagonal lines to start. Okay, and then go like in between them. But that series, yeah, has a lot of different things in it. It comes with a printable calendar so that you can like do 30 days in a row and like check off the calendar each time. And I started painting that way. I did, I think 40 days in a row of painting and then I never stopped. So it's a really great way to create a practice and a habit of painting and get yourself into it. I need a calendar now. I love checking off a calendar when I do stuff. Oh my goodness, she's a cutie. Okay, so we barely use any water, but we still want to dry it so we don't accidentally bump it with our hand. So I'm coming at it with the heat tool. Make sure you don't see the light reflecting. And now we get into the part that I think is pretty chill. So we've got this whole thing. If it curved up like this, you can just gently roll it backwards. And now we're going to go over our pencil lines, and that's it. If you wanted to add anything first, absolutely go for it. You guys are so creative. But I'm just going to start going over my pencil line, and you can always clean up your shape when you do this. Summer goose. So we've got one more goose after this. And then that will be the end of this series. So I'm still working on what our next one will be, but I've got some good ideas. I practice a bunch of stuff and then sometimes I'm like, no, it's not quite right. And I'll do an entirely different thing before I announce it. So just following those lines. Make sure you can make sense of what you're doing before you get in there. So stop. See how I keep lifting up my pen? Stop and look at it because Sharpie is permanent. And it's so disappointing when you get all the way to the end and then you know, just something at the end messes it up. What a cutie. I'm going to give her her eyeball now. I always do eyes last on things. So I'm kind of used to waiting for it all to come together till the end. And look at this. I love this little line. Look at how kind of crazy I went with it. I think it really gives some attitude to this one. Gives some interest because this is like a pretty, well, I want to say chill. Obviously, it's kind of quirky, but it's simple too. So I like that for just some variety. Now I'm stopping that and coming in here and doing this so that I focus in on the shape of that wing, and then I'll move forward. And if your paint went outside of your pencil, then this is the time you just go outside your paint. Just let it change as you go. And it's those little decisions that I think show, you know, who you are as an artist. And also it's like, trust the process, because it all just comes together. Oh, look at that. Just went entirely like above where I wanted to be, but that's okay. What a cutie. Ready for the beach. Somebody's going to put a beach ball or something. That'll be adorable. I'm going to put another wing over here with a margarita in it. I'd love to see it. Make sure you sign your artwork. If you are doing art, you are an artist. And thanks for hanging out with me. We can share these on the Facebook page. So my Facebook page is Audrey Shantz Art, and then the Facebook group is called Audrey's Art Club, and I love to see your artwork. So go for it there if you want to, and I will see you next week for our last goose.